and slays 6 men at 5 passes. Now of all the captains in Tsao's army, the only one friendly toward Kuan Yu, with the exception of Chang Liu, was Su Huang. The others treated him with respect, except Tsi Yang, who was decidedly inimical. So this Tsi was ready to pursue and capture him as soon as he heard of his departure. But Tsao accepted his going as natural. He does not forget his old leader, and he was perfectly open in all his actions. He is a gentleman, and you would do well to follow his example. So he bade the would-be pursuer begone, and say no more about pursuit. You were exceedingly good to Kuan Yu, said Chang Yu, but he went off very rudely. He certainly left a screed behind with his reasons, but he affronted you, and that is no light matter. Now to let him join Yuan Shao is to add wings to a tiger. You had better catch him, and put him to death so as to guard against future evil. Tsao replied, but he had my promise, and can I break my word? Each has his master. Do not pursue. But he said to Chang Liu, he has rejected all I gave him, so bribes were powerless with him in whatever shape. I have the greatest respect for such as he. He has not yet gone far, and I will try to strengthen his attachment to me, and make one appeal to sentiment. Ride after him and beg him to stop till I can come up and bid farewell, and offer him a sum of money for his expenses and a fighting robe, that he may remember me kindly in after days. So Chang rode out quite alone. Tsao followed him leisurely with an escort of a score or so. Now the steed that Kuan Yu rode was Red Hair, and he was very fast. No one could have come up with him, but that there was the lady's carriage to escort, and so Red Hair had to be held in and go slow. Suddenly Kuan Yu heard a shout behind him, a voice crying, "Go slowly, Yun Chang." He turned and made out the person to be Chang Liu. Ordering the pushers of the carriage to press on along the high road, he reined in his steed, held Black Dragon ready for a stroke, and waited for Chang Liu to come up. "Of course you have come to take me back, Wen Yuan," said he. "No, the minister, seeing that you are going a long journey, wishes to see you on your way, and told me to hasten forward and beg you to wait till he can come up. That is the only thing. Seeing that he is coming along with mailed men, I shall fight to the very last," said Kuan Yu, and he took up his position on a bridge where he waited the approach of the party, who advanced quickly. 4 of Tsao's captains followed close. Seeing Kuan Yu was ready to fight, Tsao ordered his escort to open out in 2 lines, and then it was seen they carried no arms. This relieved his mind, for it proved to Kuan Yu they meant no attack. "Why do you go in such haste, Yun Chang?" asked Tsao. Kuan Yu inclined his head, but did not dismount. "I informed you in writing that since my lord was in Hopai, I had to leave at once. I went to your palace again and again, but was refused admittance. So I wrote a letter of farewell, sealed up the treasure, resigned my marquis seal, and left everything for you. I hope you recall the promise you once made me." Tsao replied, "My desire is to keep my troth with all men. I cannot go back on my word. However, you may find the journey expensive, and therefore I have here prepared a sum of money to help you." Then from horseback, he held out a packet of gold. "I have sufficient left from your former bounty. Keep that for presents to your soldiers. Why should you refuse this? It is but an insignificant return for great services." "My services have been all trifling, not worth mentioning. Really, Yun Chang, You are the most high-principled of men. I am very sorry my luck is too poor to retain you at my side. Pray accept just this robe to show you I am not quite ungrateful," said Tsao, and one of his captains, dismounting, held up a silken coat in both hands. Kuan Yu, even still fearful of what might happen, would not dismount, but he reached down his sword and took the robe on its point. Then he threw it over his shoulders and turned to thank the giver, saying, "I thank you, Sir Minister, for the robe and trust we shall meet again." So saying, he went down from the bridge and bore away to the north. "He is a very rude man," said Hsu, who was of the escort. "Why do you not take him prisoner?" Tsao replied, "He was absolutely alone facing scores of us. He was justified in being suspicious. But my word has gone forth and he is not to be pursued." Tsao and his escort returned, the minister very sad when he thought of the man who had gone. But here we need say nothing more of Tsao's return. Kuan Yu went down from the bridge and started in the wake of the carriage carrying the two ladies, which should have gone about 30 li while this interview had been going on. He could see no signs of it and rode hither and thither looking on all sides. Presently he heard someone shouting from a hill, calling him by name to halt. He saw a youth wearing a yellow turban and dressed in a silk robe. He held a spear in his hand and was mounted on a horse from the neck of which dangled a bloody head. Behind him were 100 or so men on foot, and they advanced quickly. "Who are you?" asked Kuan Yu. The young man dropped his spear, dismounted, and made a low bow. Kuan feared this was some ruse, so he only checked his horse and gripped his sword the more firmly, saying, "Sir Swashbuckler, I desire you to tell me your name." "My family name is Luo, and I am known as Luo Hua or Luo Yuanshin. I belong to a Xiangyang family. Since these troubled times began, I have been an outlaw among the rivers and lakes, and I and my comrades have lived by plunder. We are about 500 in all. By chance my friend Tu Yuan came across two ladies in a carriage just now, and quite wrongly, he took them prisoners and brought them to the hold in the hills. I questioned the servants, and so found out who they were and who was escorting them. So I wished them to be set free to pursue their journey. My friend opposed this and spoke so ill-mannerly that I killed him, and here is his head. I pray you to pardon me." "Where are the two ladies?" "They are among the hills," replied Luo. "Bring them down here at once," said Kuan. In a short time, a party of the brigands pushed the carriage down the hill, and the ladies sat there before him. Then Kuan Yu dismounted, laid aside his sword, and stood respectfully before them with his arms crossed. "Sisters, have you been alarmed?" asked he. They replied, "We should have suffered at the hands of Tu Yuan had it not been for Luo Hua." "How did Luo Hua come to save the ladies?" asked Kuan of those who stood by. They said, "Tu carried off the ladies and proposed that he and Luo Hua should have one each as wife. But Luo Hua had found out they were of gentle birth and worthy, and was for treating them with respect. When Tu disagreed, Luo slew him." Hearing this, Kuan Yu bowed to Luo Hua and thanked him. Luo then wanted to join himself and his troop to Kuan Yu, but the latter, seeing he was a yellow turban, would have nothing to do with him. So he simply thanked him for his kindness to the ladies. Luo offered some presents, but these were also declined. So Luo Hua took his leave and presently disappeared in a valley among the hills. Kuan Yu told his sisters the story of his interview with Tsao and the gift of a robe, and then he urged the carriage on its way. Towards dark they came to a farm where they would rest. The farmer, an old graybeard, came out to welcome the party and asked who they were. Kuan Yu described himself as the brother of Liu Pei and said his name was Quan. "Surely you are no other than the slayer of Yen Liang and Wen Chu," said the venerable host. "That is so," replied Kuan Yu. "Come in," said the old man joyfully. "My two sisters-in-law are in the carriage," said Kuan Yu. "Will you let your women folk go out to receive them?" As Kuan Yu remained standing there, the host asked him to be seated. But he would not sit while the women were present, and remained standing in a respectful attitude, till the old man's wife had returned and ushered the ladies into the inner apartments. Then the old man set to the entertainment of his guest in the guest hall. Kuan Yu asked his name. He replied, "I am called Hu Hua. In the days of the Emperor Huan I was an officer of the court, but I resigned and retired into private life. I have a son with the prefect of Yunjiang in Sichuan, and if you should be going that way, General, I should like to send him a letter by you." Kuan Yu said he would take the letter. Next day, after an early meal, the ladies got into their carriage. The host handed his letter to Kuan Yu, and the little party once more took the road. They went toward Luoyang. Presently they approached a pass known as the Tungling Pass, guarded by one Keung HCU and half a company. When the soldiers saw a carriage being pushed toward the pass, they ran to tell their commander, who came out to accost the travelers. Kuan Yu dismounted and returned the officer's salute, and the latter said, "Whither are you going?" "I have left the minister to go into Hopai to find my brother. But Yuan Shao is my master's rival. You have authority from him to go thither." "I left hurriedly and could not get it." "If you have no authority, you must wait while I send to request orders. To remain while you send and receive an answer will delay me greatly," said Quan. "I must stand by my instructions. That is the only thing to do," said Keung. "Then you refuse to let me pass. If you want to go through, leave the family as a gauge." At this Kuan Yu got very angry and made to cut at the officer on the spot, but he withdrew into the gate and beat the drums for an attack. Thereupon the soldiers armed themselves, mounted and came down to oppose the passage, crying, "Dare you go through, eh?" The carriage was sent off to a safe distance, and then Kuan Yu rode at full speed directly at the commander of the guard, who set his spear and came to meet him. The two steeds met and the men engaged, but at the first stroke of Black Dragon the commander of the gate fell to the earth dead. His men fled. "Soldiers, do not flee," cried Kuan Yu. "I killed him because I could do no otherwise. I have nothing against you, but I would ask you to tell the minister how this thing came to pass, that he wished to kill me, and so I slew him in self-defense." The men bowed before him, and Kuan Yu, with the carriage, passed through the gates, and they continued their way to Luoyang. But one of the guards of the pass went quickly in advance and informed the prefect of Luoyang, Han Fu, of the slaughter of Keung HCU. Wherefore Han Fu assembled his officers to take counsel. Meng Tian, one of his captains, said, "This Kuan Yu must be a fugitive, or he would have a safe conduct. Our only course is to stop him, or we shall incur blame. The man is fierce and brave. Remember the fate of Yen and Wen. It seems vain to oppose him by force, and so we must think out some trap for him," said Han Fu. "I have a ruse ready," said Meng Tian. "I will close the gate with deer horns, chevox de fries, and I will go to fight with him. I will engage and then flee, and you can shoot him from an ambush along the road. If we can get him and his party and send them prisoners to the capital, we ought to be well rewarded." This course was determined upon, and soon they heard that Kuan Yu was approaching. Han Fu strung his bow and filled his quiver with arrows, and with one company took up position along the pass. Then, as the party approached, Han Fu said, "Who is the traveler who comes?" Kuan Yu bowed low and said, He is a certain Quan, Marquis of Handshouting, and he wishes to go through the pass. Have you a letter from the minister? In the hurry of departure, I did not get any. My special orders from him are to hold this pass and make examination of all spies that may go to and fro. Any person without an authority must be a fugitive. Then Kuan Yu began to be angry, and he told them what had happened to Keung Hsu. Do you also seek death? Asked Quan. Who will capture him for me? Cried Han Fu, and Meng Tian offered himself. He rode out, whirling his double swords, and made straight for Kuan Yu. Kuan Yu sent back the carriage out of danger and then rode toward Meng. They engaged, but very soon Meng turned his steed and fled. Kuan Yu pursued. Meng, intent only on leading his enemy toward the ambush, took no account of the speed of Red Hair. Very soon he was caught up, and a stroke of the mighty sword cut him in 2 pieces. Then Kuan Yu stopped and turned back. The archers in the gate shot their hardest, and though it was a long way off, one of them lodged an arrow in his left arm. He pulled it out with his teeth, but the blood streamed down as he rode toward the prefect, Han Fu. The men scattered. Kuan Yu rode straight at his next victim. He raised his sword and made an oblique cut which sliced off the head and shoulder of his opponent. Then he drove off the soldiers and returned to escort the carriage. He bound up his wound, and, fearing lest anyone might take advantage of his weakness, he made no long halts on the road but hurried toward Ishui Pass. The warden of this pass was Peen Hsi of Pingchu, a warrior whose weapon was a comet hammer. He had been a yellow turban and had gone over to Tsao, who had given him this post. As soon as he heard of the coming of the redoubtable warrior, he cudgeled his brains for a ruse to use against him. He decided upon an ambush. In a temple at the pass, he placed 200 axe and sword men. He reckoned on enticing Quan to the temple for refreshment, and when he let fall a cup as signal, the hidden men would rush out. All being thus arranged and ready, he went out to welcome Kuan Yu in friendly guise, and he dismounted at his coming. Peen Hsi began very amiably. Your name, General, makes the very earth tremble, and everyone looks up to you. This return to the imperial uncle proves you to be noble and true. Kuan Yu in reply told him the story of the men he had slain. Hsi replied, You slew them, that is well. When I see the minister, I will explain to him the inner reasons for these acts. Kuan Yu thought he had found a friend, and so mounted and rode through the pass. When he came to the temple, a number of priests came out to meet him with clanging bells. This temple, that of a guardian of the state, had a courtyard in which the Emperor Ming had burned incense. In the temple were 30 priests, and among these there happened to be one who came from the same village as Kuan Yu. His religious name was Piu Qing. Hearing who the visitor was, he came forward to speak with him. General, said he, it is many a long year since you left Pudong. Yes, said Kuan Yu, nearly 20 years. Do you recognize this poor priest? I left the village many years ago. I do not recognize you. My house and yours were only separated by a rivulet, said the priest. Now Peen Hsi, seeing the priest holding forth about village matters, thought he would blab about the ambush, so he bade him be silent. I want to invite the general to a feast. You priest fellows seem to have a lot to say, said Peen. Not too much, said Kuan Yu. Naturally, when fellow villagers meet, they talk of old times. Piu Qing invited the visitor into the guest room to take tea, but Kuan Yu said, The 2 ladies are out there in the carriage. They ought to have some first. So the priest bade them take some tea to the ladies, and then he led Kuan Yu within, at the same time lifting the priest knife which he wore at his side and looking meaningly at Kuan Yu. The latter understood and told his people to bring along his weapon and keep close at his side. When Peen Hsi invited Kuan Yu to go into the hall of the law for some refreshment, Kuan Yu turned to him, saying, Is this invitation with good intention or evil? His host was so taken aback that he could make no reply, and then Kuan Yu saw that many armed men were concealed behind the arras. Then he shouted loudly at Peen Hsi, saying, "What means this? I thought you an honorable man. How dare you?" The traitor saw that his plot had failed and called to the assassins to come out and fall to, but Kuan Yu had a short sword in his hand and slashed at anyone who came near. So they scattered. Their commander ran down the hall and tried to escape among the side buildings, but Kuan Yu threw aside the short sword, took up Black Dragon and went after Peen Hsi. The latter was trying to get into position to throw his comet hammer, but Kuan Yu cut the cord and the weapon was useless. He followed Peen in and out and soon caught up with him. Then with one blow he cut him in halves. The fight over, he sought the two ladies, who were surrounded by soldiers. These fled at sight of the terrible warrior. Seeking out the priest, his fellow countryman, he thanked him for the timely warning which had saved him from death. "I cannot remain here after this," said Piu Qing. "I shall pack up my few garments and my alms bowl and take to the road, vague in my wanderings as the clouds in the sky. But we shall meet again. Until then, take care of yourself." Then Kuan Yu took leave and retook the road to Yunjiang. The prefect of this city was named Wang Qi, and he was related to Han Fu by marriage. Hearing of the death of his relative, he set about a scheme to kill Kuan Yu secretly. He sent men to guard the city gates, and when he heard that Kuan Yu approached, he went himself and received him with a smiling countenance and bade him welcome. Kuan Yu told him the object of his journey. "You, General, have been able to get some exercise on the road, but the ladies in their carriage must be cramped and fatigued. I pray you to come into the city, and all of you remain the night in the official travelers' quarters. Tomorrow you can set forth again." The offer was tempting, and his host seemed in earnest, so the two ladies went into the city, where they found everything very comfortably prepared for them. And though Kuan Yu declined the prefect's invitations to a banquet, refreshments for the travelers were sent to their lodgings. Kuan Yu was fatigued from the trials of the journey, and as soon as the evening meal was over he bade the ladies retire to rest while he sat down in the main room, quite alone, for he bade all to get repose while they could. His horse was given a good feed for once. He sat with his armor loosened in order to be more at ease. Now the prefect had a secretary named Hu Pan to whom he had entrusted the arrangements for the destruction of his guest. Said he, "This Quan is a traitor to the minister and a fugitive. On the road he has murdered several commanders of passes and is guilty of serious crimes. But he is too strong and valiant for any ordinary soldier to overcome. So this evening a whole company of men will surround his lodging, each one armed with a torch, and we will burn him. They will start the fire about midnight. Every one of the party will perish. I will come with a force to stand by and assist if necessary." These orders received, Hu Pan passed them on to the men, who began secretly to prepare dry wood and other combustibles which they piled up at the gate of the rest house. Hu Pan thought within him that he would like to know what manner of man was this Kuan Yu, whose fame had spread so far, so he determined to get a peep at him. He went to the rest house and inquired where Kuan Yu was. "The general is the man in the main hall reading," was the reply. Hu Pan noiselessly made his way to the outside of the room and peeped in. He saw the famous warrior stroking his beard with his left hand while he read by the light of a lamp placed on a low table. An involuntary exclamation of wonder escaped at the majesty of the figure. "Really a god," he sighed. "Who is there?" suddenly asked the reader at the sound. Hu Pan entered and said he was the prefect's secretary. "Surely you are the son of Hu Hua who lives outside Hsudu," said Quan. "I am he," replied Hu Pan. Then Kuan Yu called up his followers and bade them look among the baggage for the letter, which they brought. Kuan Yu handed it to the secretary, who read it and then breathed long, saying, "I very nearly caused the death of a good man." Then he betrayed the whole plot. "This Wang is a wicked man who wanted to kill you. At this moment you are surrounded, and at the third watch they will set fire to this place. Now I will go and open the city gates while you hastily prepare for flight." Kuan Yu was greatly surprised, but he quickly buckled up his armor, got his steed ready, roused the two ladies and put them into their carriage. Then they left the rest house, and as they passed out they saw the soldiers all about them, each with a torch. The party hastened to the outskirts of the city and found the gate already open, and they lost no time in getting clear of the city. Hu Pan returned to give orders to fire the rest house. The fugitives pressed on, but before long they saw lights coming up behind them, and Wang Qi called out to them to stop. Kuan Yu reined in his horse and began to abuse him. "Worthless fellow, what had you against me that you wished to burn me to death?" Wang Qi whipped up his steed and set his spear, but Kuan Yu cut him through with the short sword he wore at his side and scattered his followers. Then the carriage pushed on. Kuan Yu's heart was filled with gratitude to Hu Pan. When they drew near Huachu, someone told Liu Yin, who rode out to welcome him. Kuan Yu did not dismount but bowed from horseback, saying, "Have you been quite well since we parted?" "Whither are you going, sir?" replied Liu Yin. "I have left the minister, and am on my way to find my brother. Yuan Ter is with Yuan Shao, who is at enmity with the minister. How can you be allowed to go to him?" asked Liu Yin. "That matter was settled long ago. The Yellow River Ferry is an important point, and is guarded by a lieutenant of H. Saya Hu Tun. He will not let you cross. But suppose, then, you provide boats for me. Though there are boats, I dare not give them to you. Well, formerly I slew Yen Liang and Wan Chu, and saved you from a grave danger. Now you refuse me a ferry boat. I am afraid H. Saya who will know of it and make it a fault against me." Kuan Yu perceived that no help was to be expected from this man, so he pushed on and presently reached the ferry. There the commander of the guard, Chin Che, came out to question him. "I am one Quan, Marquis of Handshouting. Whither are you bound?" "I go to Hopai to seek my brother, Liu Yuanter, and I respectfully ask you to grant me a passage over the river." "Where is the authority of the minister?" "I am not on a mission from the minister, so why should I have such an authority?" "I have orders from my chief to guard the ferry, and you will not cross. Even if you grew wings, you should not fly over." Kuan Yu's choler arose. "Do you know that I have been the death of all those who have hitherto tried to stop me?" said he. "You have only slain a few officers of no rank or reputation, but you dare not kill me. Where would you stand beside Yen Liang and Wan Chu?" asked Quan. Then Chin Che grew angry and he loosed his rein. Sword in hand he came at a gallop. The two met, but in the first encounter Chin Che's head was swept off by the terrible black dragon. "He who opposed me is dead. You others need not be afraid," cried Kuan Yu. "Be quick and prepare me a boat." The boat was soon at the landing and the two women stepped on board, followed by Kuan Yu. They crossed, and were then in the country of Yuan Shao. In the course of his journey to this point, Kuan Yu had forced 5 passes and slain 6 captains. His seal hung up, the treasury locked, his courtly mansion left. He journeyed toward his brother dear, too long from his side reft. The horse he rode was famed for speed as for endurance great. His good sword made a way for him and opened every gate. His loyalty and truth forth stand, a pattern unto all. His valor would frighten rushing streams and make high mountains fall. Alone he traveled lustily, 'twas death to meet his blade. He has been themed by myriads, his glory ne'er will fade. I did not willingly slay a single one of them, mused Kuan Yu as he rode along. There was no help for it. Nevertheless, when Tsao hears of it, he will regard me as ungrateful for his bounty." Before long, he saw a rider on the road, who soon hailed him, and proved to be Sun Chin. "I have never heard a word from you since we lost sight of each other at Junin. How have you fared?" said Kuan Yu. "After your departure, the city fell. I was sent to Yuan Shao to try to make peace with him and succeeded, so that he invited your brother to go to him and share in the deliberations for an attack on Tsao. But to my disgust, the leaders of Yuan Shao's army showed great jealousy of each other, so that one got into jail, another was degraded, and others quarreled. Then Yuan Shao vacillated and hesitated, so that your brother and I consulted how we might get away from them all. Now the uncle is at Junin with Liu Piyi, and thinking you could not know that and might suffer some harm if you unwillingly went to Yuan Shao, I have come to warn you. It is good fortune to find you like this. Now we can hasten to Junin and you will meet your brother." Kuan Yu took Sun Chin to make his bow to the ladies, who asked after his adventures, and he told them of the risks Liu Pei had run from Yuan Shao's sudden bursts of anger. Now, however, he was out of his way and safe at Junin, where they would meet him. They covered their faces and wept at the recital of his dangers. Then the party no longer traveled north but took the road toward Junin. Not long after, a great cloud of dust was noticed behind them, and they presently made out a squadron of horsemen. These were led by Saihu-Tun, who shouted out to Kuan Yu to stop. One by one the pass commanders stopped his progress and were slain. The river crossed. Another army comes and he must fight again. How finally Kuan Yu escaped death will appear in the succeeding chapter.